All right, well, welcome back to the shop. I am in my corner of shame because, well, you'll see you'll see in a minute how I've got the shop configured. I have the Bonanza assembled on the floor, mostly because the span of the main landing gear doesn't really fit on my bench. So it's just easier to deal with it on the floor. Sometimes you got to be a kid and you got to play on the floor some days. Thankfully, I'm young enough I can still do that, but my back is bothering me a little bit, so it's a little iffy. Anyway, moving on, I'm glad to have you guys here today. Just a couple of things to go over. Progress on the Bonanza. Now, I have to be fully transparent at this point. There has been an engine change. From here, looking in the shop, you can see it doesn't really look like an engine change, but over here on the top of my table, yeah, there's a laptop and there's an engine, but that's not the original engine either. What I want to show you guys is what's been going on with this engine. So this is the engine from the airplane. Now, what I mentioned at the very beginning of this series was that this engine came with a brand new engine, and it is, but it's old brand new. Now this is an OS 91 Surpass 2 pumped. So this pump right here pumps fuel. Okay, so this is the fuel inlet. It pumps fuel into this carburetor, which has a fuel regulator. It regulates the amount of fuel going into the engine. Okay, so a couple of things. There are plastic diaphragms in here as well as in here. Well, I think this one's a rubber diaphragm. Either way, they go bad, right? Because they're meant to be flexible, right? And they go bad over time. They get brittle. So that brings us to this. So this is, thankfully, I've got great club members. This is a used OS 91 Surpass 2 non-pumped. And he had two of them. Now, he gave them to me, and little gummy and stiff around the edges, but I know how to do that, how to fix all that. Carburetor was working just fine, so no real big hiccup there. It was really about the crankcase, and so it was just about getting some penetrant oil in there and break up some of the oil that gets kind of gluey and sticky. It's kind of where you get the nickname of Slimer on these engines, because they slime over, and if you don't know you're going to fly the engine for a long time, sometimes these engines, they just gum up like this. It's not a huge deal. You can thin it out. I've used carb cleaner pretty successfully, and this time I used seafoam, of all things. Worked pretty great. Squirt some around the this part where I don't know what that's called, but it doesn't matter. Where the prop hub, wherever that is, so that pulls off, and there's the bearing there, and you can squirt some there, help fruit it up a little bit. But there's also a secondary bearing on the inside that you kind of have to get to. You can open up the back of these engines right like that, 4 little bolts, and it pops right off, and you can just squirt some in there, rotate things around once it's freed up, add a little bit of 3-in-1 oil, and you're ready to go. So, been using that engine to dial in the carburetor and settings on the radio, because that engine's already broken in. So what else have I been up to? As you can see, the model is in pretty good shape. Definitely need to get the cowl back on. I did check the center of gravity, so that was important. And I want to add just a couple of ounces to the cowl before I stick that on. In addition, I need to put the tail cone on. Not going to worry about the lights just yet. That'll come later after the model has flown. In addition, I have found a weak spot in the hinges. Yeah, right there. See how that pulls out? That's no bueno. So that needs to be re-glued. I'm debating whether or not I'll just cut those off and put the pin hinges in it to begin with. I mean, I don't know yet if I'm going to strip all this covering off. I'm inclined not to, but yeah. So I might just go ahead and stick a couple of drops of CA and come back to that at a later time. Moving on from there, we have a saggy flap. So this saggy flap, part of the reason why I wanted to do a whole bunch of ground testing, something has come loose in the wing and I need to fix it. What that is, I don't know. I replaced the servo in there, so it's entirely possible that I forgot a screw of some kind. I don't know. I'll get in there, I'll dig it out, I'll troubleshoot it. But that's why we do ground testing, right? Vibrations. They are a thing. They do things to mechanical stuff, and it's important to do inspections. That's why you always have inspections for every system when you're doing an internal combustion airplane, okay? I'm going to say it. You have to build inspection stuff into a model if you're doing internal combustion. All right, it's a lot easier if you have electric because you don't face these kinds of vibration thing. It's still a good idea, don't get me wrong. I still do that on the rest of my airplanes too. But I'm saying for internal combustion, you have to do this. You're going to service it, all right? So that being said, the only thing that's really left to do, other than those minor things, is control surface check. All right, with the model powered on and the radio powered on, you can see we can wiggle the sticks, and it does things. Okay, so we have ailerons, and I've checked the throw on the ailerons. I've also checked the throw on the flaps. So we got half and full flaps down. And then comes the programming on the tail. Okay, so using just the elevator stick, we have up and down. Okay, never you mind how centered this is. I know. I know. Needs to be adjusted on the inside. We'll get there, okay? This is just, like I said, getting all of this mechanical stuff set up is a process, and so you have to go through it. And after you get your throws right, you can do all the centering and stuff like that mechanically. I prefer to do that mechanically. Okay, so elevator, yeah, that works. And that is all per the instructions. I got the digital instructions. I don't have the physical ones. I could print them, but yeah, digital works too. Save a tree. And that says that amount of throw for the elevator is perfect. Now, rudder. This one. There are also instructions for what throws to do for the rudder, and it's specific for each one. You can just look closely here, okay? This rudder, we're going to go up and down. Center, down, center, up. So there's a little bit more up. It goes up a little bit more than it goes down. So it's 3/4 of an inch up and 1/2 inch down. It's weird on this one, but that's to account for the torque. Makes sense, right? So in order to control your yaw, you're also controlling the amount of torque vector going back into the airplane, which we sometimes refer to as P factor, right? So the other V-tail surface, the right side, the right Ella rudder. No, we're not going with Ella udder. Okay, so the right side, that one's even. It's 1/2 inch, or I can't remember. Up, it's even up and down. Yeah, pretty sure it's 1/2 inch up and down. I have to check the manual. Anyway, that one is set, but as you can see, there's a little bit of that play with the hinge. And so once I get that set, I will check it again, and then we'll be all good to go. And then we'll take it to the field for ground testing and all of that fun stuff. Okay, so that's where we are. Now, thank you guys so much for following along with this series. Apparently it's a big hit. You guys think that the Bonanza is pretty special. Now, I gotta tell you that coming up, I'm doing another season of the Dubro Masterclass. And of course, that's gonna be on their Facebook and YouTube pages. So make sure you're checking them out and looking for the notifications. We're going to do it the same schedule again, targeting the 1st and 3rd weeks of each month. And it's going to be a pretty special project. We're doing a really great model. I hope you'll tune in and see some of the fun things that we're going to be doing there. just got some great partners again. It's not going to be a full-on build, but it's right along the vein of this. So if you guys like this, you'll love that too. So head on over to dubro.com as well. Use code Josh10 at checkout. Build season is coming, whether you like it or not. It's coming. It'll sneak up on you, and it might bite you because you'll not have that part that you need. So use that code well, use it wisely, and until next time, I'm going to try to fly, or at least ground test soon, this flying work of art.